So, Nick, the co-main event came with its level of controversy as well last night. Brandon Moreno has now lost his belt to Deiveson Figueiredo, and these two seem to be just exchanging the belt with each other every time they meet in the cage. The judges last night in LA clearly favored power over volume and accuracy and gave the fight to Deiveson. Now, I asked you this question in the last video, and I'm going to ask it to you again. Was this a rob job?
In my opinion, we're scoring. We use boxing's 10-9 must system, right? And a lot of times we throw things out with what we like and what we don't like. And it's very odd because, historically in boxing, if somebody gets knocked down, it's a 10-8 round.
Yep.
We didn't adopt that, but we did adopt their scoring system. So Deiveson Figueiredo should have won clearly if we would have adopted that, but we didn't. And those two knockdowns that happened in the third round and in the fifth round were clear as day, 10-8s if you're in boxing, but they aren't for us.
Yeah.
And up until those moments, which they both happened late in those rounds, Brandon Moreno was winning those fights. In my opinion, Brandon Moreno won out of 25 minutes. He won 18 minutes of the fight, but I guess they were really, scoring the power shots heavily. And I think that Brandon Moreno didn't do enough, but also I don't think Deiveson Figueiredo did enough to be crowned the undisputed champion either.
Yeah, you know what? It would have been crazy if they'd have called this one a draw like the first one. And actually, I think there could have been a case for that, depending on how the judges had scored some of those knockdown rounds and the ground and pound rounds. There was one particular round, I think it was the third, where there was that knockdown and Deiveson was looking to finish, and he kind of even shoved him at the end of the round. That was kind of emphatic. Sometimes things like that can make a judge say, wow, that might have been a 10-8 round, and scored it as such. I think that, as cliche as it sounds, you do have to really take the belt off of the champion, right? I think that's why Brandon Moreno didn't win it the first time around and it was a draw. They just gave it to the champion. I think that the challenger, fair or unfair, has to do a little more than the champ has to do to win. So I think that at minimum, it should have been a draw. I did see it as a victory for Brandon Moreno.
Yeah.
I had it scored 48-47 for Brandon Moreno. I gave the two knockdown rounds to Deiveson, but I gave them to him as 10-9s because, as you said, it's not a 10-8 automatically with a knockdown. And I don't think that those, right? A 10-8 round in MMA is you're damn near finished. Like, if there's 30 seconds on the clock more added, then you're done. The fight's over. So that, to me, that's a 10-8 round. Neither one of those two were that in my estimation. So I gave the rounds 1, 2, and 4 to Moreno, and then the final round and round 3 to Deiveson Figueiredo. Either way, it was a very close fight, and I dig what Deiveson said after the fight, which is, we're giving you a fourth fight. That was close. He acknowledged it, and he said, tonight's my night, but we're giving you a fourth fight, and I want to do it in Mexico. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's a great fight. Obviously, these two guys were meant to fight each other because they do put on good performances, right? I think the fight's entertaining, but I just don't know if that level of competition really reflects the UFC title. Like,
yeah.
I think... you watch some of the guys that were on the undercard, and some of the guys, like Said Nurmagomedov comes to mind. He's only 10 pounds heavier than those guys.
Yeah.
And the skill level is wildly different between him and what we saw out of those two guys. And I just feel like with them not selling this fight, with them not promoting it well, Deiveson not doing his part as the bad guy that he claims to be, and then Brandon Moreno trying his best, I guess, but just falling flat every time. It really didn't live up to a epic trilogy like we wanted it to, and now it seems like we're going to have to get a fourth fight, which, punches and kicks wise and the X's and O's, it's going to be another fun, entertaining fight. They haven't laid an egg as far as the fights go, but just the promotional side, it's like, man, we got to get some fresh blood in there. We got to get these guys squared up with some different fighters.
Yeah.
Because it's been, 2 years of their careers against each other. And I think that if Brandon Moreno is landing more significant strikes, and that whole significant strikes thing is ridiculous. I'll concede the two shots that knocked Brandon Moreno down as more significant strikes, But who are these judges to say, ooh, those strikes were more significant than what those strikes were landed, when neither of them were knocking each other down, and Brandon Moreno just so happened to score, I think, more shots landed than even Deiveson Figueiredo threw.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the judging was just all over the map last night, and you get it every time you go out of Nevada.
Yeah.
You start to get some wonky scorecards, and you get some robberies. You know, Chael Sonnen went hard in the paint. He said that he hates screw jobs. He hates when judges get it wrong. But if there was any card that deserved it, it was the main and co-main of this card here, because these fighters did nothing to sell this fight, and he said they had to make an example of somebody, and he's glad it happened here. But I don't like rob jobs any sort of way.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit shocked when I saw the results come out for both the co-main and the main event. But I don't think anybody should be upset or overly satisfied with their performances.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that you could call either one of these a rob job. You could call it, if somebody came over here and said that I think Deiveson Figueiredo won that fight and here's why, I'm not going to argue and I'm not going to say they're crazy. If somebody came over here and they said, here's my reasoning why I think Francis won that fight, okay, I'm not going to argue with you. I might disagree, but neither one of them are far-fetched. But New York and California are notorious for this. You always get these kind of results everywhere you go. And by the way, somewhere Kaikara France and Askar Askarov have probably pulled all their hair out by now, because they thought for sure the winner of their fight was getting the next title crack. And quite honestly, they should get the next title crack. I think Brandon Moreno won this fight. Bottom line, Deiveson did hurt him those 2 times. Brandon did more. He was more effective. But you're absolutely right. I think that the level that you're going to see between Kai and Askar Askarov is going to be a higher level than we saw last night in the title fight. And that's just the reality of the situation. Deiveson's character is very weird to me. I liked his character in the beginning. He was the quiet, red streak in his hair, angry guy that was like almost too scary to speak type of thing. He was the bad guy, the dark whatever of I forget what he calls him, the God of War in the division.
Right.
And then he kind of took that character and added a touch of Henry Cejudo's Captain Cringe to it, and it just fell flat, I think. Brandon Moreno, to me, is one of the most likable guys in the entire UFC. So when you come out and crap on a guy like Brandon Moreno, it falls flat.
Yeah.
It's like when Conor came out and was an ass to Khabib. Khabib is like a family man. He's the guy who it doesn't work with him. With Nate Diaz, it works. Do it all day with Nate Diaz. With Cowboy, you can have a different kind of fun. You know what I mean? But you have to know who your dance partner is. And I think that that really fell flat because Brandon Moreno is just so likable.
Right, and you saw when, like Khabib, he made some remarks about his wife, and that did not sit well with Khabib. It made him just not want to engage with Conor at all, except for, flying jump kicks out of the octagon. Yeah. But Dustin Poirier is the guy that'll play ball with you, you know.
Until you start talking about his wife. You
right,
know what I
right.
mean?
And even still, then he'll get a little clever with you, right? So he's like, I know this is what Conor does, but some people they don't get those kinds of jokes. And it could be a translation issue. It could be just, some jokes I bet there's stand-up comedians that go to other countries and have great jokes and they just fall flat.
Yeah.
Or jokes that aren't even so funny that get, roaring laughs because the sense of humor is just different. And I think that translates into fighting really well. I think Brandon Moreno, is such a he's like a Mexican Stephen Wonderboy. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Like, you shouldn't bully him because then you just look like a jerk.
Yeah.
And when you weigh 125 pounds on weigh-in day, nobody really takes you as like it's almost like a Chihuahua, right? Yeah. It's the way they look at Chihuahuas. And I thought
by the way, we're that size, so it's not like we're ragging on these guys. Like if we were to fight, it would probably be 125 or 135.
Right. When I made my debut, it was 136. Yeah. Right. So I feel like, Deiveson Figueiredo for a little while was considered a scary guy, even though he was fighting at 125. Now I think he's kind of gone with this weird, like pseudo scary, really more just cringy sort of Brazilian Henry Cejudo, and it's a weird take because he's kind of letting that Eric guy, and I don't know his full name. He's probably a nice enough
the glasses guy,
the white glasses guy. He gets under my skin, and everybody that I know under their skin as well. So maybe he's doing something right. If you're evoking emotions, then you're doing something right. But man, I think he needs to be a little bit more hands-on with the training and a little bit less hands-on with the promotional aspect, because what they're doing is missing. And personally, skill for skill, I think Brandon Moreno won that fight last night and looked like the better fighter.
Yeah, side note, it will be hilarious when that corner walks out with John Jones, because I believe that's who will be in his corner the next time he comes out.
Yeah.
There's not a guy in that group above 5'4".
Yeah.
John Jones is going to be a full 1.5 feet taller than his walkout crew.
Well, they were all standing behind the octagon, and none of them, most fighters, coaches, their face is blocked by the octagon's top, the 6 foot thing.
Yeah.
They're all standing there under there like the lollipop guild.
Like nice cushion between the top of the octagon and where all of their heads were. Funny. Hilarious. But to your point about certain things getting lost in translation, a perfect example of that is when Canelo fought Caleb Plant, and Caleb called him a mother effer, and Canelo actually thought he was talking about his mother.
Yeah.
And that led to them actually exchanging bare knuckle blows before the fight ever took place. So, and Caleb even rectified it after the fight. He was like, dude, I wasn't talking about your mom. I was saying something that in English means something very different than it does in Spanish, obviously. Yeah. So certain things do get lost in translation. And if you want to be a worker in the sport, which I think everybody should, because that's where you build your star and you build your money, you have to know who your dance partner is. You have to know, okay, it's like Sugar Sean did a beautiful job of it. His last opponent, Howley Paiva, didn't speak English. And so he's like, I'm not going to rag on him. He's a nice enough guy. But Cody Garbrandt's over there. I'm going to go after him. And that's why we love people like Sugar Sean, and that's why people like him are becoming big stars in the sport. And so I think this Captain Cringe mixed with the God of War thing was a bit of a miss. Obviously, what he's doing in training camp is working. He did look better in this fight than he did in the second fight and possibly the first, but I still don't think it was enough. I still think Brandon Moreno has his number, but the reality is the new champion is the God of War, Deiveson Figueiredo, and I give a hell of a lot of credit to him for saying that he'll defend his belt in Mexico.
Yeah, and I'm not mad at the fourth fight. Obviously, we have to see it because that's a true trilogy. After the first one's a draw, you kind of have to go for 4, but I believe everybody in the flyweight division should be thanking Kai Kara-France because he did the heaviest lifting of fighting Cody No-Love in his entry to the 125 division. And I think that if he didn't get past him, or if Kai Kara-France didn't exist, Cody No-Love would be kind of lurking in that division and looking to take that belt very soon. And he probably has the skills to do it. So my opinion is that these guys need to fight sometime mid-year to seal this chapter in the UFC's, flyweight history, and then get on with it. Let Kai Kara-France or whoever wins that next fight fight for the title at the end of this year. Let's keep this division active because that's what they need right now. They need fresh faces, activity, or they might be on the chopping block once again for being released as an entire division.
Yeah, agreed. Guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Drop us a comment, and if you haven't subscribed already, we really appreciate that. We'll see you in the next one.
Peace.